I'm not sure how many people are going to join because we usually don't go live at this, and we've been advertising 5 p.m., but we're going live now. We are going live now with more Clovertac than ever. And let me stop the dinging. It's dinging everywhere, man. All right. So today we have a special guest. His name is the Tactical Leprechaun, and I just want to make sure I'm broadcasting because it's really weird that I'm not seeing anyone in the studio right now. So see something here. Make sure I'm broadcasting in the right place. Let's see. All right, yeah, we're good. We're going. All right, there it goes. All right, sorry about that, guys. So we are going to be brought to you by the Tactical Leprechaun. But before we get into that, we are brought to you by Tusk. Tusk is the only gun-friendly cryptocurrency with 3-second processing times and low transaction fees. It helps you do your business. And my website, Black Swan Tactical, will be dealing in Tusk soon.
Proudly sponsored by TUSC, the only cryptocurrency designed with the firearms market in mind, with 3-second processing times. It's the fastest cryptocurrency on the planet. With lower transaction fees than traditional credit cards. It's perfect for your e-commerce needs. For gun guys, by gun guys. Visit TUSC.network for more information and join the digital revolution.
And with that said, Black Swan Tactical will be accepting Tusk fairly shortly.
Black Swan Tactical, your #1 source for 2A streetwear. With shirts, mugs, hats, patches, flags, and more. There's always something to help you rep the 2A community. All proceeds go back into our projects. Viewers and listeners can take an additional 10% off with code CRUMPY. Unapologetically pro-gun, pro-liberty, and pro-freedom gear for the front lines of the culture war.
And we are back, and look who it is. It is the Tactical Leprechaun himself, Clovertac. How are you doing?
What up, man?
Not much, man. So let me ask you a question here. How do we get everything all screwed up?
How did I get everything? YouTube did it.
No,
blame YouTube.
I did
Everybody
it.
blames YouTube.
No, no, I screwed it up too because last week we were supposed to do a podcast. I couldn't delete it for some reason, so I just moved it. And then you're like, "Hey, we're supposed to do a podcast." And I was like, "We are."
Well, so I was, I was just trying to get things done today. I mean, I've got a video drop a little later, and then of course I had some promotion and PR, and of course the lounge podcast from last night to get over in audio form. Just general working on stuff, and I look up and there on my YouTube homepage, it's like live at John Crump live at 4:00 with Clovertac, and I'm like, huh? What in the world? So we made it. We made it happen. I don't know why it was telling me 4. I don't know why it would. I don't know why. So I know you kind of explained it behind the scenes. Some kind of a disconnect apparently between StreamYard and YouTube. So technical glitch. Today's show is brought to you by a YouTube technical glitch.
Apparently. Yeah, I guess YouTube really wanted me to talk to you at 4:00.
Right. Right.
So, I was like, all right, well, I need a break. I've been burning the midnight oil on some kind of big news that's been being picked up by other YouTubers. I think CRF did one, Reno May did one, Jared's coming out with one, and some other people that did some videos. And I know Baron Arms picked it up, Truth About Guns.
I don't have that problem. None of those people pay me any attention. So
well, like I tell some people, I'm Hank Strange. I'm the YouTube whisperer.
I felt kind of like a redheaded stepchild, which I feel like that pretty regular. But because you had to cancel on me a week or 2 ago, and then like a few days before that, Hank had to cancel on me. And I'm like, so what's going on? Why is everybody canceling on me? I don't get it.
You should just do what Hank does, like how he got me on the show last night. So he's like, "You coming on the show?" I'm like, "No, I can't." An hour later. So do you want me to send you a link for the show? No, I can't. Then when the show started, he goes, "I'm gonna send you a link." I'm like, "Fine." you know.
Yeah.
So I'm on. I'm like, "Damn it, I've been manipulated."
Well, he's Mr. Popular. No, I mean they hopefully him, Lola, his family, hopefully they didn't have any crazy issues, because I noticed that yeah, they canceled. It's supposed to be me and Sarge from C4 Defense on there, and they kind of canceled last minute, and then they didn't have a show like the rest of the week. I was
Well, they've been having
um,
internet problems.
oh, okay. I was worried that maybe something happened. That you know.
No,
Um,
they just been
Contrary
having.
to popular belief, disagreements we have, and as much as we like to bicker and argue amongst ourselves and all that, oftentimes we really do care about each other. We don't want harm to come to each other or nothing like that. So
Yeah, this is crazy. Usually, my live chat is filled by now. I think it's because of the 4 o'clock thing.
well, I just shared out, so we'll see.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's always replay. So
yeah.
for those in the watching in the future, um, greetings from the past,
Yeah.
and all that good stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're the YouTube guy, right? You know a lot about YouTube.
I've got. I would not say I know a lot about YouTube. I don't know any more about YouTube than anybody else couldn't
But
know if they applied themselves and really wanted to learn. That's one
yeah,
of the things that really ticks me off about people that run their mouth about YouTube is, um, it's not like you can't learn about it, and it's not like you can't make I mean, good Lord, I'm a channel with 5,000 subscribers. Well, pushing six, almost six now, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And if I've got the context and the other things that I've got inside YouTube, there's no reason these big million subscriber channels and stuff couldn't have the same ones and be. Um, but then again, here's the thing, if a lot of those have that, which I'm fairly transparent with as much as I can be transparent on. I'm sure from your days with working kind of behind the scenes with Facebook and other things. There's a lot of NDA that goes on, right? A lot of things you
yeah.
can't talk about.
You have to sign an
Uh,
NDA, and
Unfortunately, yeah,
they'll sue you
yeah.
ass out of existence. Their
I've been
lawyers are good.
speaking. Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. What I'm afraid of is a lot of what I've been working on the past year and stuff like that
Get thrown away.
is beneficial, has been beneficial, and I foresee in the future being beneficial to um, the firearm community niche here on YouTube. And I don't want to create distrust by breaking an NDA, right? That's my biggest thing. I mean, they can come after me all they want. I don't own anything, so not worth having anyway. So yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, a man's got his honor, right? And he's got his word and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, that's what an NDA is. It's like, hey, I'm not going to give any behind the scenes crazy secrets out and anything like that. And I gave my word to that, and I don't want to break my word is the biggest thing.
I got a 79-year NDA with the federal government.
Wow, that's
That will
funny.
but if I break that NDA, I go to prison.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
breaking that NDA.
Stipulations on all of that are different. With my NDA, a lot of it has to do with talking about some behind the scenes programs and policy issues, internal policy issues, and just some different things like that. It wouldn't be anything that I don't think that would be catastrophic to YouTube or anything else.
Yeah, one of the
And
things,
it would take them absolutely about 15 seconds to discredit me completely for the rest of my life. Let's be honest about it, because again, I'm not some big, huge force to be reckoned with, right? So
yeah,
I'm small fries. So a couple of
yeah.
calls to the right people or the wrong people, and I'm done in content creation forever.
I would like to talk to him about live stream because
Mhm.
I split my channel, right?
Mhm.
So I got another channel that's just doing new stuff. That channel is almost to the amount of subscribers I have on this channel now. and it's growing like really fast, and the views and the recommendations.
And you will. You're talking about your produced channel is growing faster than your live.
Correct.
Yes, it's going to.
That's what I know. I'm almost equal now.
Yeah, it's going to. Yeah, that's normal.
I mean, but
There's nothing. There's nothing conspiratorial or crazy about that. That's been just pretty much since live stream has existed on YouTube. YouTube does not promote and push live stream the way they do promote it. It does not hold the same weight through the search, suggestion, and recommendation algorithms the same way, and for good reason. Number one reason is if you look at a lot of the live streams out there, people throw out a title. They don't really concern themselves with thumbnails. You're the exception to the rule. Don't get me wrong. You spend a lot of time because you're kind of tech oriented anyway, right? So you spend a lot of time on that stuff.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people that go live, they hit the button go live. It's a generic thumbnail from a screenshot when they went live. It's just there's no thought behind it like with produced content.
Yeah.
And so it's not conducive to the algorithm and stuff like that. The other thing is plain and simple. The YouTube, we all know this because you can go to your homepage on YouTube and it's catered to not who you subscribe to, right? Not to who you personally like or anything like that, but it's catered to the types of things that you watch. I get things on my homepage. My homepage for the vast majority of the time is things other than firearm related content. Why? Because I watch a wide variety of stuff. So there's some political stuff in there. There is some gun content, but there's also stuff with movies and music and, Family Feud bloopers and scientific things. And especially when you get into physics and astronomy and mechanics and some things like that. There's a lot of that on my page. So, it stands to reason that, how's the algorithm, number one, supposed to collect all that data while you're live, push that out, let people that are not your subscribers know you're live, blah, 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 because produced content is really conducive to those that are not your subscribers. Live stream is more conducive to those that are your subscribers.
Yeah.
And then add on top of that, the vast majority of people that watch YouTube, which is again, you can easily see when you look at your produced content in the analytics, vast majority of those are fleeting, fly by night, in and out, type viewers. They're not hardened, loyal subscribers. And the vast majority of people in that category just do not have the staying power to hang around for an hour or whatever it might be on this type of format and a podcast. And me having my camera off is another deal breaker for a lot of people. And that aggravates me to no end because you should not be concerned with seeing my face or what cool thing might be in the background. You should be listening to the conversation. You should be, are you hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth? And to quote Chris Tucker from that movie with Jackie Chan. I don't even remember what that is. Somebody out there in the chat, they know. Rush Hour. Yeah. Do you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? And that's what you need to be doing. I mean, everybody out there, especially on your chats, on the Fireside chats and stuff like that, because there's a lot of good info that's put out on these. And, if you're paying attention to the flag in the background or the Robert John's got back there or the, don't step on Snick or something, then it's like, are you really paying attention to the conversation?
Well, I mean, I get actually more hits on the audio only version.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a little secret because
yeah, no, definitely. I do too.
I have probably like 4,000 listeners audio only.
Yeah.
And I'll get like a couple hundred, maybe 100 or so on the video.
Yeah.
It's just, I think people just, because they can like listen to it in their car
No, I mean,
or wherever.
I could flip back and say like right now, like let's go back. Well, hey, I'll go back to the Quickie podcast, the with Jeff Knox. I mean, showing 101 views on YouTube right now was an amazing hour, maybe 15-minute conversation with Jeff Knox, and that one 101 on the YouTube side, and on the podcast world, somewhere around 2,000.
Yeah,
So,
that's
what I
basically
mean?
what happens with me.
Yeah.
So I usually upload the day after to Podbean, and it gets just disseminated out. And then I have another podcast that's on Saturday night. Hank Strange is calling me, but I'll call him back. Talking about Hank. Um, yeah. Then I have another podcast on Saturday night. That's a Virginia-based podcast that's a GOA sponsored. So
Right.
that does pretty well too. But again, it's mostly on. Well, the video that one's interesting because the video I get a lot more hits on video than the audio on that one, which is
Hmm.
totally different. But yeah, YouTube when they first introduced live, the algorithm was set up differently.
Oh yeah,
So it
absolutely.
pushed it a lot more, so they've toned it
What are you talking
down.
about? The algorithm was set up differently last year. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
So
always they're always tweaking it, but
always
yeah, I mean probably last week. Jason King said
right.
that he fell asleep watching watching a UFO video, and now his his whole entire playlist is filled with alien videos, and he doesn't believe in aliens.
We'll do it, man. The beautiful thing is, if you don't know that, go to your YouTube homepage and on a PC. If you all bets are off on mobile, right? Because I don't very rarely do I watch anything on mobile. But yeah, if you take and you click on the little hamburger, the little three dots on PC on your browser, it gives you the option to say you're not interested, don't recommend this channel, and kind of curate your homepage. A lot of people don't do that, and
Oh, I have kids.
I'm going to tell
I
you
definitely
right
do.
now. I mean, it's worth your while to do that. That gives YouTube some feedback that can actually help some other channels and stuff. If you're, if you're into certain content and YouTube's showing you things that you don't want to see, then let them know. That's feedback that goes into the algorithm, and then it's going to put more channels that you might like, that you might find interesting in front of you, because that frees up space. So,
Yeah, I mean that's how I found there's a channel called Nexpo.
uh-huh.
He does like down the rabbit hole type investigations.
Yeah,
And down the whole rabbit hole investigations is something they take like a weird thing and just go down and investigate it. They're awesome videos. I actually really really like them. And that's how I found that, and that's how I found the Internet Historian, which is the best channel ever, besides Clovertac's channel.
right.
The Internet Historian. If you haven't watched the Internet Historian, watch his videos. And the last channel I want to recommend is, I think it's Brew Crew, something like that. I can't remember. Brewster, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that one I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
If
Does
they're
not sound familiar.
Brewster Films. It is effing hilarious. You know what we'll do? Since we're highlighting YouTube channels, let's see if this works here.
Oh, good Lord. Experimentation is seldom ever good.
All right, here you go. Let's see if this works. You can't
Oh,
hear it
so
yet.
he's like an infographic channel, basically.
Yeah, no. Can you hear it?
No, I can't.
You can hear it?
No, people out there maybe in the chat or something can, but I can't.
All right. Never mind. Well, the thing is, no, it's not an infographics. He tells stories from his childhood with cartoons.
But with cartoons or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of
And
what I meant.
it is freaking hilarious. He has this one where he was talking about like he's a Boy Scout, right? Or
Hmm.
Cub Scout. And they had the Pinewood Derby, and his friend wakes up the morning of the Pinewood Derby. He's like, "Oh shit, I forgot to make my Pinewood car." So he just put wheels on a block, and he talks about how much it sucked. It sucked and stuff like that. It is hilarious.
Right?
Brewster Films is really funny. Then he has one about playing airsoft,
Hmm.
and the cops showing up because one of his kids decided to go walk through the downtown with an AR.
Right.
So it's hilarious. Yeah, he has a bunch of them on there. But it's just really cool. Brewster Films.
Brewster Film.
Yeah, I mean, if you start watching it, Clover, you're gonna be up all night just watching his videos,
Mhm.
laughing your ass off. Especially if are you a kid from the '80s?
Oh yeah.
Then you're gonna die laughing because he references stuff like the A Team and Knight Rider, and
Oh yeah.
And he'll be like the David Hasselhoff's head, one of the cartoon characters.
Right.
It's hilarious. It's just it's really funny. Okay, getting back into gun stuff.
Mhm.
What videos do you have? You're gonna drop a video tonight. What is that about?
I haven't decided which one. That will be a total surprise. Now, I've got a lot of. I think I've got 7 videos in the queue right now from the 2021 Shooting Sports Showcase,
Really?
which was last Monday. Yeah, I think I've got 7 in the queue at this point. Um, so I'm not real sure which one I'm going to drop. I know that you and other folks that are Patreon patrons as well as YouTube channel members get early access to those. So, if you're out there and you fall into one of those 2 categories, you still don't know which one's going to drop publicly, but you've likely already seen it. Yeah, I just got to figure out which one which one I want to drop. Quite honestly, and then I've still got. I think I've only got 2 left to produce from that event. Thank goodness. Good Lord. Thought it was going to kill me. And they're fairly short videos because it's just booth review type things. Walking in, talking with the people, taking a quick look at the product. That's about it. It's not like it's extended 1,000 round reviews or, anything crazy extensive. Um, just more about showcasing some of the new products that are out and things like that. But yeah, like I said, don't know. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, hang around. Whatever, set your notification so that when I do release it here in less than an hour or something like that, yeah, you'll
Who can?
know what it is. But yeah, I had a lot of fun at that event. You didn't go, unfortunately, um,
Dude, I have so much family stuff going on right now. That's
and I guess you're not going to the gathering, the PSA gathering.
no. I mean, you know some of the stuff going on behind the scenes. It's just
Hmm. Right.
it's when it rains, it pours. You know.
No, I understand, man. I get it. But no,
Yeah.
that event was pretty good, man. They've already scheduled next year. They've sent out some questionnaires and wanted some feedback for next year. I'm gonna possibly tick some people off, but one of the questions they asked was, "Should we open it up to the general public?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely no, not no, absolutely no." Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of Poma members run to that thing.
yeah, I mean, Poma, Siopa, and NASGW is who sort of put it on. Um,
I mean,
so
Poma's a good
yeah,
organization.
there was, but what's interesting, and you've been around in Poma, I guess, more than I have, Professional Outdoor Media Association.
Yeah,
For those that
since
don't know what
2016.
Poma is, but
Yeah.
um, as far as YouTube people, video creators, that sort of thing, it was super thin.
Yeah.
I'm tentatively going to say I'm the only one that has video content from that event. The
Uh,
only one. Um, I haven't seen anybody put out a Poma media event newsletter, and I've done one for every single video.
I mean,
And as far as the list of people that was going, or the people that I kind of sort of seen there, the Gould brothers, if you don't follow them, they do kind of like trick shooting with shotguns and things like that. Um, they were there. Now, I never did run into them, but man, the CMP Talladega Marksmanship Park is a huge place. So, um, there was out of the maybe 70, 75 media people that was there, when you spread them out amongst that entire place. Um, not surprising that I'd never run into
yeah.
them. But as far as doing videos, things on YouTube, I think that's the only people. The rest were writers and photographers and uh, things like that.
Yeah.
So
Poma gives people like, why do you join? Poma gives you like credibility with a lot of companies.
mhm,
Like me, I mean, I'm a member because I believe in what they do and everything else.
right.
But if you're like a content creator or something like that, I would recommend joining because it gets you
Well,
honestly, it gives you access.
and not just that, but I'm looking now into SIOPA, which is Southeastern Outdoor Press Association. Um, their membership, and not to knock Poma, because I think my Poma membership uh, has been worthwhile. I don't have an issue at all with it. But Siopa membership's a little less. So you can get 3 years, almost get 3 years, I think, for what you can get one with Bowman. Now, not being in that organization and not knowing, maybe you know a little more about CEOPA than I do, and maybe they don't
I
even
know
like,
nothing.
maybe they don't even like to call it CEOPA. I don't know, but um,
I know nothing about it.
yeah, I don't know internally. I mean, I'd have to pay for a year to kind of see what it's about. Quite honestly, I may try to get a hold of somebody and just talk with somebody with CEOPA and just kind of see. But I think that would be a logical step, right? Being a voting member in POMA to extend out and do CEOPA, I think as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say that would be a logical step. Because I do think that a lot of people miss the point of why you join these places.
Hmm.
You don't. You get it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of facets, and a lot of people do a lot of things for selfish, greedy. Those aren't the right words, right? Because those naturally imply something nefarious or maybe some type of malice or something like that, and that's not what I'm getting at. But even if you donate a large sum of money to a children's charity, there's a certain amount of gratification on your part because you did something good, right? So I mean, you sort of get something out of that, and so that's human nature. Some people take it to the absolute extreme? Well, of course they do. That's just human nature as well. So there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing wrong about weighing the benefits. How you're going to benefit from joining an organization or something like that. I wished that some of these press organizations and associations, I sort of wished they would at least. I don't want to say shift to a right or have a or have even have a legit organized to a arm, but I
Uh,
wish that there was a little more to a element to
well,
some of them.
I brought that up with the president of POMA, uh, and he told me we just don't have the money for that.
Well, I don't mean. I mean, are you talking more about legislative action and things like that, or what?
No,
In
no,
what capacity were you talking about?
no. Just to have yeah, they got the creators. They have
Mhm.
the people who cover fishing and outdoor media, where I'm kind of shoehorned in there.
Right.
But yeah,
Well, I mean, I just think that they don't have to have a policy and they don't have to have a division and they don't have to, it's something that doesn't require extra cost on their part.
yeah, but yeah, that's
I
what I was
just think
trying to
it would
explain.
be helpful if they would recognize that there is a need sometimes to get out to some 2A information and be open to those people who are members of, and I feel the same way if we're talking about fishing rights or conservation efforts or because that's a huge part of
Yeah,
conservation and stuff like that's a huge part of POMA and the riders and everything else. So same type of struggle and strife even with that as the Second Amendment side of things. So
you gotta.
I see it more as an extension. I just would like to see them again, not spending a bunch of money on something or implementing policies and doing all that, but just a little more open to that type of a creator.
Well, that's what I tried to say, and they're like, well, then we'll have to create awards during the Pinnacle Awards and everything.
You don't because
I just walked away at
if
that
I
point.
was coming in, I would say no because I could care less about getting an award. So if I could care less about getting an award, then why would you have to make an award?
I don't know. I was just like, whatever, you know.
DJ's got a question out there, don't he? Does the open split zone, Tejas, east west? Your guess is as good as mine, bro. I know that's what I just said. I know very little about CEOPA. I need to put that on my to do list to try to get in contact with somebody from them and talk about the organization. Maybe even have them on a podcast.
Okay,
That could be interesting.
can I ask you a philosophical question?
Probably if it's too deep, just remember I'm a Texas redneck, so it probably will go over
Well,
my head.
it's kind of what you were talked about that made me think about something, right? You talked about how even when you donate to charity, you get something back. Uh, if you're donating to get something back or make it to make you feel good, you're getting something, right? So,
Well, yeah, I mean that's yeah, yes.
how is there such thing as true altruism? And if there is, how do we know that it actually exists?
That's been a question that's posed for a long time, and I'm gonna tell you I don't know the answer to that. I would almost tell you no. I
Yeah,
would almost I would almost tell you no. I would be more inclined to tell you no than yes, right?
well, that's
Because
what Ayn Rand
I
would say.
don't
No,
have I don't have any examples to spew and show you. Um, but I'm hesitant to say either way.
there was a priest that went actually crazy because of that question.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I can
bugged him so
imagine so.
much
You know,
that
the bigger perception, the bigger thought that I have is to pull back and say that even if there is no such thing, that's not a bad thing,
well, that's what
right? What's
my
wrong with feeling good about doing something good? There's nothing wrong about that. You should feel good about
uh,
doing something good.
well, I was like, dude, Jason King says no, there's no altruism, there's only a
Mhm.
social contract. When I talked to my therapist about it, right? I said I have a therapist. I said I get really bugged by stuff like this. I'm like, it's killing me. I can't. It's driving me crazy that I can't answer this question. If there's true altruism, he's like, well, oh, does it matter?
Right.
I said,
Yeah.
yeah, it matters. And he's like,
Mhm.
why? And I was
Because
like,
you want an answer,
I like,
basically.
and I'm like, because I need to know. He's like, why do you need to know? I'm like, I don't know.
Hmm.
And he's exactly right. You know,
Yeah, it's an unhealthy need to have a definitive answer to something that there's no
you,
need to have a definitive answer to.
yeah. He's like, don't worry about it. He's like,
Yeah.
let's say there is. How's that gonna affect your life? It's like it's not gonna affect my life. He's
Right.
like, let's say if there isn't, how's that gonna affect your life? I was like, it's not gonna affect my life.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
like, then why worry about it?
Yep. Uh,
But I focus on
no.
things like that, and that's one of the reasons I'm in therapy because I do stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And again, I go back to there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling good about, if you do a good deed or, whatever the case may be. I tell people all the time, if you're not able to pat yourself on the back, don't expect me to, right? Um, and that's a weird something. It's weird sometimes when I say that. Uh, people take that the wrong way sometimes. But that all goes into you knowing you, and you being comfortable in your own skin. You know the reasons that you did X, Y, and Z, whether that was for totally for gain or it was 99.9% selfless. You know that in your heart and your mind and your soul and all that. I don't know that. I can't read your mind. I can't see into your heart. So if you're not able to pat yourself on the back for it, then we got a problem. Especially if you're expecting me to stand up and go, oh, you need to give this guy an award. Well, you know, yeah, but again, even people take that to the extreme, right? And that's where you get conceited people. Um, they pat themselves on the back a little too much, and and that's a problem. But if you did something good, talk about it. There's nothing wrong with talking about it.
Yeah, it's almost like we're conditioned not to talk about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, I just don't. I just don't know. Oh, were you affected by the ice, by the way? I
Oh
was
yeah.
wondering.
Well, snowmageddon, more snowmageddon here than it was ice. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I say yeah. I mean, travel was a major thing. As far as loss of power, loss of water, anything like that. No, not really. And what was crazy about that is I was prepared. I mean, had the generator, had the fuel, had water stocked up. I was ready, and didn't need any of that stuff. So And more often than not, that's the case. I have many things, and I don't want to say tactics or whatever strategies or whatever it might be, right? For different types of scenarios, living out in the sticks, you learn to do that. It's not like some major catastrophe happened and it woke me up. Just have learned that. I mean, I can remember being very, very small, and my grandfather, who's passed away now, he called the generator the dynamo. And he's like,
Oh,
lights would
that's old.
go
That's
out,
old school there, man. The
right?
dynamo. Yeah.
The lights would go out, and it was PTO driven off a tractor,
Oh, it
and
is a dynamo.
yeah, and he would go out and fire up the dynamo, and plug everything in, and if bad weather come through or whatever. So, from a very early age and just living where I've lived, I've learned that you have to have contingencies, right? Um, but that's what gets people is you don't realize you need something until you need it, and at that point, many times it's too late. Um, and sadly, people look at, well, how often am I going to need this? Okay, well, if you're talking about something, it's what is it? Insubstantial? I don't even know the word. But if you're talking about something that, let's say, a waffle iron that makes waffles in the shape of Snoopy. Um, okay, how many times are you gonna want waffles made in the shape of Snoopy? Is that a wise purchase? I get it. I get weighing a purchase decision on something like that. Um, a generator, a little bit different story because, you know, how many times realistically am I going to use this? Well, maybe as many as two, maybe my entire lifetime, or over the maybe once a year, maybe. Um, but here's the thing: that's a totally different scenario and situation, and that's going to be something that is far more beneficial than waffles in the shape of Snoopy. When you do end up needing that and have to break it out and use it. So, yeah, I preach to people all the time, especially as cheap as generators are nowadays. There ain't no reason in the world not to have generators. One of the concerns that I heard over the Snowmageddon here was fuel. I had 25 gallons of fuel um, for my generator, even though I didn't use it. And people were like, well, I got all this fuel and, I don't know, you go out and spend all this money on fuel and, 50, 60, 70 bucks or whatever it cost for that much fuel. And, you got to sort up that fuel's eventually going to go bad. And I'm thinking, these people don't think things through because you're going to have fuel for your vehicle eventually, right? So why not use the fuel that you bought for the generator that you didn't have to use because the storm didn't get as bad or whatever the case may be? Put that in your vehicle, put the empty can in the back, and then get some more next time you go to town, right? Rotate that out. And then there's all kinds of obviously fuel stabilizers and other things that work real great. I found that some fuel stabilizers and then um, simply shaking the fuel cans up before you pour them makes a huge difference. So with fuel storage and stuff like that, there's a couple of quick tips. But yeah, if you've got a vehicle, you use fuel, so use it, rotate it, and it's all good.
Yeah, generators are really interesting. I have a generator. I have a 10 kW generator
Hmm.
that's fed by natural gas.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, right,
and we lost power when I live in a kind of a hoity-toity neighborhood, you can say.
right.
And we lost power at Christmas time. So I'm sitting there watching TV, and then I realized I had all my Christmas lights off.
Uh-huh.
I go outside, and I'm like, my house is like lit up like freaking Batman. It's like the scene in Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, where how do we know where the wizard or whatever the guy, whatever Kevin Smith's characters live? He's the only one that's gonna have his lights on. So it was kind of like that. I walked out, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to unplug it. I unplugged it because
Right.
I don't know, I just felt weird being like lit up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
And my neighbors were looking at me like that jackass is trying
Well,
to rub it in.
that's a lot of draw on a generator, depending on what kind of lights you got.
Yeah.
I tell a story when we're talking about generators, inverters, and a lot of other things. A lot of people do not realize the draw on Christmas lights. But
Yeah, they have
I've got
LEDs now.
a 250 watt, I think, inverter in the toolbox of the pickup. And we were fixing a float for the parade one day and bought 10 strings of um,
Float for
10
a
strings
parade.
of 10 strings of Christmas lights, right?
What type of parade?
That what type of
You,
parade?
you, you just said you had the Christmas lights for a float in a parade.
Yeah, well, it was a Christmas parade. Probably a
Okay.
Christmas parade. It may have been the rodeo parade or who knows, but
I did not know
regardless,
you were into building floats for parades.
well, back when I was heavily involved, the manager, coach, instructor, all of that good stuff for 4-H here anyway.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, went out, bought 10 strings of Christmas lights, wasn't paying any attention, just got regular normal Christmas lights. That 250 watt inverter would not pull those lights.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. The wattage load is just insane on regular lights. And so what was crazy is went and got spent the extra money, bought 10, took those back, bought 10, which was a pain in the neck to wrap those up and get those back in the box, by the way. Took those back. Wasn't my money. It was the club's money. So obviously needed to get refund on those. But took those back and got the LED versions, right? The LED versions, turns out they ran fine on the 250, and turns out I could run them fine on the little 75 watt or whatever it is that plugs into my cigarette lighter that basically charges my cell phone.
LEDs are
That's
great, man,
that's how lightable, that's how much of a load difference it was. So
and they last
um,
forever.
a lot of people don't realize that. So if you break out your generator, necessities and light, as far as being able to see, is not necessarily a necessity. Burn some candles for light, battery operated, LED lanterns, things like that, rather than running that stuff off a generator. That, for me, that's just not a priority.
Well,
Uh,
every light bulb in my house is LED because they last for like 30 years. So I'm like, I'll just change them. Plus, it's a lot cheaper. It saves you a lot of money.
yeah. Well, I've got an old house here, and they went from incandescent bulbs and they come out with the curly Q, the CFLs, and then from there they've gone LED. And the crazy thing is, even when they were that stuff was super expensive, it behooved me to change the lights over in my house because of the old wiring and everything else. Incandescent bulbs, man, I was talking about throughout the house, the whole house, and I don't know how many bulbs total there was in the whole house, but you would literally burn out a bulb a day.
Wow.
Incandescent bulb, right? Moved over to the CFL bulbs when they first came out, switched to those. And like I said, it was a little bit of a price tag shock at first, but I think for the years that we ran those, I think maybe we replaced maybe one. Also, the light bill dropped, which again helped offset the initial cost of that anyway. And then now that things have went LED, we predominantly have LED, and for years now have not had a single one go out. And on top of that, the electricity bill is even lower, not by a whole lot, but a little bit lower even than the CFL. So there's something to be said for that, for sure.
Mr. FNH says he likes candles, fireplaces, and paraffin wax lamps in emergencies.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I don't want to name him because he doesn't want to be named. But he has a field. He has some land, and he has a field, and he put a bunch of solar panels out in a field. So it's like a lot more than what you can put on your house.
Right.
So like now he's running like all his electricity off solar panels, and he's still hooked up to the grid, but he pays very little. But
As long as he's got sunlight, it's okay.
Yeah, well, he has he has like a battery bank too.
Hmm.
So like he can run his house for like 48 hours just off battery alone.
That's the but that's the problem with solar more than anything is the battery.
Yeah.
Um, the battery tech. Once the battery tech gets there, solar will be. Uh, I think it'll be a lot more viable
Yeah.
than what we see now. So the storage and distribution, as far as collecting,
Well, he has a lot.
and as
He has a
far as
lot of,
collection of solar energy and immediate use, the tech's pretty good with all that. It's just storage and distribution that's a problem.
well, he has a lot of solar panels out in the field, and he also has a little building off of his house.
Hmm.
That's that's his battery building.
Yeah.
So he's not like a normal
Yeah, I
guy.
would not recommend having um, batteries and stuff like that close to your house. I've heard
No,
too many stories about heat and fire and other
well,
things.
yeah, his is in a separate building that's
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
He's like he calls it his battery house,
yeah,
and then that's what feeds into his house.
yeah.
But
I can
but
approve of that.
he
That's a
spent a
smart move.
lot of money on it though, a
Yeah,
lot of money setting that up.
yeah. And what do you get back out of it? You know what I mean? I know a doctor that lives in town. Their entire roof, and they've got a really big house. Their entire roof is covered in solar panels. Um, and they actually get a check from the light company every month. Now, in contrast, because I'm on a rural co-op where I'm at, they don't buy my energy, so I can use what I use, but they're not going to buy anything extra back. So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, but I thought it was kind of cool. He has like chickens, and then he has something. He's a prepper. He has something that's called
Obviously.
he like he can dude. He's a crazy Russian guy. He defected like a long time ago, but he has like crops, but he has them in the woods, so you can't tell that there's actually crops there.
Hmm.
So you look, it looks like woods, and you walk back there, and there's like, well, here's my fruit tree, and here's this vegetable, and here's these cabbages growing. I'm like, why'd you do that? He's like, so no one knows. He also has an underground bunker. He's insane. He believes in like lizard people and stuff.
Yeah,
Fun guy though. Fun guy.
that's a little weird. Yeah, fun guy. He's crazy, but fun guy.
Yeah.
Usually the crazy guys are the funnest, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, dude, this
Pardon me.
guy's freaking hilarious. He's this crazy Russian guy. And he's like some of the theories he has. He believes like flat Earth and lizard
Mm,
people and all this stuff. Like, dude, what do they do to you over there? He defected. He came over here.
oh man.
He's like an engineer, so he came over here to give a speech out of school back when the Soviet Union was still around. So he gets here and he's like, "I'm not going back." He just like runs off the campus, avoids his handlers
Funny.
but yeah, so that's how he got here. So he's insane.
Yeah.
I have a question
Wow.
for you, Clover.
Yeah.
What are what are some positive? What are some of your positive experiences? Ones that you didn't expect while being in a firearms and outdoor content creator.
Um. And he says on YouTube. Man, DJ always comes up with some good stuff.
TJ is a great guy.
That
He comes up with him and G Webs come up with some of the best questions.
that's crazy. I mean, positive experiences. Um, the number of people I've seen turn on cameras and surpass me as far as viewership on YouTube, um, I say is a positive thing. It's amazing to be witness to that sort of thing. Um, so that's definitely one. Um, I would say, I've taken as we kind of talked about earlier, I've taken a little different approach. Um, I do have a passion for the creator thing, the side of things, the tech, the firearm content, the 2A stuff that I do. all of that. Honestly, time wise, I mean, it really does kind of take a back seat to the other stuff. But I would say, with contacts I'd be able to make, other people outside of the firearm niche, being able to educate and explain, and not only help other people learn, but learn in the process, um, has been positive. And so that's one of the reasons when, demonization starts, and, in fact, good Lord, what was it? Less than a month ago, I got called a traitor, um, because
Why?
I was explaining some things with YouTube and the reality of the situation of what was going on. Um, and why? Because I'm privy to that information. I'm plugged in. I know I'm educated about it a lot more than most people. I know about what goes on behind the scenes. Um, but people tend to glom on to the larger channels, and they think that because that channel has millions of subscribers, that channel knows the intricacies of YouTube and exactly everything works. So when they say YouTube is the devil and YouTube wants our content gone or whatever, they think they actually have some factual basis behind those claims. And 99.9% of the time, they don't.
I can tell you,
Um,
Facebook wants gun content gone.
Facebook is a totally different animal.
Yeah,
Facebook is a totally different animal. I
no.
will put this out there now. I understand. Let me say this though. Here is what one thing that irks me. For years, it has been this case. I have been privy to lots of information that illustrates this fact, and certainly don't mind having those conversations in a more private setting. But YouTube hates Facebook. This thing about the whole YouTube gets lumped in with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and Instagram is Facebook anyway. But anyway, they all get lumped in as the big tech, right, in the platforms. There could not be a more distinct difference when you get down to corporate policy, corporate train of thought, structure. Um, there is a huge difference between YouTube and Facebook and Twitter.
Well, the reason why I bring up Facebook is I have heard the culture is a little bit different when it comes to at least gun content at Google and Alphabet. But at Facebook, I will go on record right now, and Chuck Rossi, who
Yes, I know, Chuck.
he will go on record and say they are definitely freaking anti-gun.
Yeah, yeah,
Palmer,
it's
Lucky Palmer would go on record. Peter
so I
Thiel.
don't know, and you may have more insight than I do. I don't know. We got to get out of here in a little bit, but you may have more insight than I do. But the structure of YouTube is what most people are unaware of when they scream and holler about YouTube and bias and a lot of other things. So there's not one bald-headed person in a chair stroking a hairless cat maniacally laughing about deplatforming gun tubers or whatever it might be. The higher ups, the Susan Wojcicki Wiggies, and all of those really don't have a clue about day-to-day operations, how the platform's handling policy, enforcing policy, and they don't dictate that sort of thing. There are specialists, there's policy specialists, there's senior policy specialists, there's directors, there's a whole hierarchy of, we'll say employees, because ultimately they are, that sort of work together to dictate that, so to speak. And it's based on education. And what's interesting about it is things are not at YouTube are not. Let me back up because I don't want to get in trouble with NDA or anything else. So I'm going to say from my perspective with talking to YouTube, right? Because it's not like I have hard and fast documentation on this. But there is no director per se, even at that level. Certainly not an executive. But I don't think there's even a director that is over a team that is dictating down to the team. It's information and stuff coming up to that director for him to then sign off or approve on that. So the people that are closest to the creators, closest to the advertisers, closest to which are again those specialists, policy specialists, senior specialists, that level, they're feeding him, and then he signs off as a collective and goes, oh yeah, okay, I see how all of this is a problem, or whatever the case may be. You guys, okay, you're right, take care of it. But they get, because you see Zuckerberg and bearded dude, whatever his name with Twitter, Jack Dorsey, but because you see those folks in front of Congress all the time, right? It puts one man, one face, one name, like they're total dictator running the company. Now with Facebook, Twitter, maybe that's the case,
Okay.
right? I am not educated to that. You can speak on that in a sec.
Yeah.
But with YouTube, that's not the case. I can assure you that's not the case. So people get hung up on that a lot of times, and they don't see the intricacies of how a large corporation works, how large business works. And anybody that's been in any kind of a large business and worked in any type of managerial capacity or supervisor capacity or anything like that, just stop for a minute and think about blow that business that you worked at up 100-fold, 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold, even, right? And that's what you're dealing with YouTube, and that's what you're dealing with other platforms too, to an extent.
Okay.
But
I can talk
yeah,
to Facebook.
yeah,
What happens at Facebook is there's this main Facebook board, and I can talk about what happens at Twitter too. I know what goes on over there. There's this main Facebook board,
hmm
and the employees will make posts and bitch and complain about stuff they don't like, and
right,
then the management comes in and to placate the employees, they basically act on it. And Sheryl Sandberg is also very anti-gun, and she basically, it's not Mark Zuckerberg isn't the problem at Facebook
hmm
with guns.
right,
It's Sheryl Sandberg
right,
who's below him, and but she can make a lot of the decisions and she's very left wing. So once
right,
the employees start bitching, she's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea,
hmm
crush,"
right,
and I've seen it over and over again, and that's the reason why I left.
yeah.
Because I'm like, this is freaking insane. It's
Well,
like, I mean, and we had like a secret group with people who are like pro gun and stuff like that.
mhm.
And
Yeah, I'm the owner of probably the biggest admin group on Facebook that way back in the day. It's been what, 6, 8 years ago now when policy changed so drastically. I created that group. Chuck was a part of that group. Mary was a part of that group. Several other people. I think I brought you
yeah,
in the last couple of years. Of course, there's not a whole lot we can do nowadays through that group, but so
yeah.
too
Well,
little,
there's
too late with you. But that was created for those purposes over
well,
there.
dude, I had with my account that got banned. I had people with serious power, executive level people, go to bat for me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was like,
Well,
no, we don't like them, and
YouTube.
it is all because of freaking Camilla Harris. I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's why
Um.
I filed, because I have inside information, because people feed me inside information because I used to work there, and I'm friends with people at very high levels, and they fed me inside information, and it's like, this is the reason why, and it was just like, what?
Yeah.
That's why I filed a complaint with the
Well,
FTC, and that's why I'm suing. Well, never mind.
right.
Back
No.
up there.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Not Facebook. Somebody else. Oh, and talk about Twitter. You said that there's no dictator at YouTube, which is true. I've heard at Google it's not like that. Now Facebook is really not like that. It comes from the people complaining up. At Twitter, Jack Dorsey is,
It's disseminated down.
yes, he
Yeah.
is definitely a dictator, and it's not
It's
really
possible.
him.
That's got to be a horrible environment to work in, by the way. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
But
well, it's
yeah.
not really him. It's well, it is him, but there's one other person who has a lot of power at Twitter. What's her name? She was head of policy and content.
hmm
And when she was, her philosophy is We're for free speech as long as it's good speech.
Right. And
And no, that's an actual thing.
Mhm. Well, here is the hang up. It's twofold with YouTube, to get back on the YouTube train, because I can speak to that, and that's what
Yeah,
DJ was talking about out there.
yeah.
So to get back on the YouTube train and try to squash a few misconceptions with that. What I've run into is just simply uneducated. I mean, picture people that you talk to in everyday life that know nothing about firearms. And what they get comes from the nightly news. It comes from the internet. It comes from newspapers. Whatever the case, whatever the case may be. Um, that's what they're getting, right? They're not getting good educational sources. And so once you're able to show YouTube this, and they fully grasp the concept that they are probably the most educational platform source on the planet at
See,
this point.
that's different
You
from
know what I
Facebook.
mean? Then they start seeing how they have a responsibility. And when you come into it without the squirrel moments, which is their approach, that's why it's been so slow. And I mean, we've had 3 meetings since the first of the year with YouTube officially, and well, I say officially. Yeah, I guess. I don't think that was an NDA thing. What we talked about, maybe, but that's not. But anyway, prior to that, so there's been a lot of informal talk last year in 2020. But during all of that, they've seen that. But one concern that they have, and this is a concern they have as a business, and we have to we don't have to agree with their concern. We don't have to think their concern's rational, even though I think it actually is, or whatever. But they have a certain liability concern of creating an apocalypse of potentially cancel culture on YouTube, or taking the platform down, or hurting them in a way that Google decides to sell off to somebody even more anti-freedom or whatever. And so the reason that it's been a slow walk to this point, and it'll continue to be a slow walk, let's be honest, is squirrel moments. So with with the firearm community, you've got the firearm community, you've got all these sub niches within that, you've got the 2A community, which is essentially tied to the firearm community, you've got all these sub niches within that, and we're all different. We all play a different role. We have all have something else that we give or contribute to in this grand thing of firearm ownership. And what happens is, where I think my approach, our approach, because I do have some folks helping me, has been effective, I think, so far, is that we've baby stepped. We've started out with specific policies pertaining to firearm content. We're not talking 2A, we're not talking politics, right? So oftentimes, a video gets demonetized, or a channel, which you had Mark with Fit and Fire on recently, and I did too. He got demonetized. I had his channel back up and monetized within 24 hours. And it was exactly what I told him it probably was what the fix was, and he fixed it, and I was able to escalate through some of my channels and get it taken care of. So he broke policy,
Well,
plain and simple. And
well,
can we argue the policy is stupid? That's fine if we want to argue policy is stupid. But many of these channels are violating policy, whether they know it or not. And then they take the stance that, which is bad enough, not to want to know what happened and try to seek that out and find that out and correct that issue. But I've had channels that literally I've reached out to help that got demonetized, that they basically told me to screw off. They didn't want to work with YouTube.
I had
And that makes no sense. And then number 2 with this, is that I lost my train of thought, but there was a number 2. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, and hopefully I can
yeah.
remember my number 2.
One of my videos got age restricted,
Oh
and
yeah,
so like
that's a nothing burger though, bro.
no, I got it taken care of.
Yeah, but
Face
that's a nothing burger in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
People freak out over things.
well, I didn't think that it was something malicious,
Mhm.
and I guess it was reported, and
Yeah.
then someone just like I
So
guess they didn't look at it. They just
so
age
not to
restricted
get
it.
so again, inside baseball, okay, the yellow icon ticks everybody off, right? And so first of all, it's limited advertising, not demonetization. But when people get hit with that, they put out posts and want sympathy from all the viewers and followers that they've been demonetized. No, you haven't. You've got limited ad. Okay.
Well,
So that's first of all, is they're lying to people to get more sympathy. Let's just be
well,
honest about it. It's limited ad. It's bad. Again, it's bad enough. Let's look at the policy. Let's say the policy is bad. Let's admit to things we're doing wrong. Let's admit to the truth of things first, because we're never going to be able to fix an issue or find out where problems lie if we're not willing to do that. Okay. So that's number one. Number
well,
two is you got to be willing to come to the table. Like I said, with the folks that were like, screw YouTube, I don't want to work with them to get my monetization back. But yet you're going to go on and rant and rave of how YouTube is so horrible. And here was point number two that I was going to make, is they make the jump from YouTube, the truth of the matter. Okay. I'm going to speak in the reality of the language. They come out and they say, well, YouTube demonetized my video. Well, actually, YouTube marked your video as limited ad, and it was probably a reason that you likely screwed up somewhere on policy, or maybe you got really close to the line, right? And you need to have that conversation, not just to fix your video, but as things are programmed and reversed and all of that in YouTube with appeals, it affects the algorithm to learn to try to sidestep that crap from happening in the future. So if you just kick back and go, oh, YouTube's biased, they hate gun channels, and you don't have that conversation, you're not helping to fix the problem at all. Why? Because there are not people on YouTube that are sitting there. There may be at the very low rung support levels. There may be people that are sitting there on their break and they're not out in the courtyard or whatever, eating drinking their frappe latte, whatever the crap, whatever. And they may instead be so geeky that they're and so committed to the SJW cause that they're sitting there hitting buttons, demonetizing videos or deleting them or limited ad. Sure. Could that happen on a low level? Yeah. With tens of thousands of employees? Yeah. Certainly a possibility. I'm not going to discount that. But by and large, that's not happening. Okay. It's algorithmic, and there's triggers that are triggered. Well, the more times that manual people, and especially senior level policy people, input stuff in and says, oh man, the mistake, this video is fine. That algorithm goes, oh, my bad. Okay, I get what you're saying now. I'm not going to touch any more videos that have this type of context, or whatever it might be. So that's number one, is failure to admit that they may have actually done something wrong. And utilizing the demonization to stoke fear and drama and everything else, right? I would love to be able to be disingenuous enough to howl at the moon, fearmonger, say that YouTube is suppressing all of my stuff to the point, and I need everybody that's watching this live stream now in replay, whatever, to go join my Patreon. That would be wonderful if I was disingenuous enough to tell you that, right? But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Number two, and I've illustrated the point here today on this podcast, John. Number two with this is people have their squirrel moment. So, oh man, they demonetized my video with the AR-15, blah, 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 blah. YouTube just hates conservative content. Okay, whoa. Time out. The video of you reviewing the AR-15, you didn't talk about the Second Amendment. You didn't talk about politics. You were talking about the thing, the manufacture, the trigger, the weight, the putting rounds down range, the accuracy. That had nothing to do with anything in the conservative realm or politics. You're conflating two totally separate issues here.
Well,
so we have to approach it in a pragmatic stance. We have to say, hey, education on firearms can be political free. It has nothing to do with conservatism, liberalism, Democrat, Republican. I've got a firearm here. I'm going to show you how accurate this is. I'm going to tell you what the weight is, the capacity. I'm going to show you pictures. I'm going to shoot it, how reliable it is. I'm going to show you where the safeties are. Hey, let's teach you some training stuff. Let's teach you some safety. Let's, show you some fun out on the range, right? Let's do all of these things. That's totally separate from politics, right? So we are the ones, and it's not YouTube. We are the ones that are continually not pursuing education enough to understand that it's two totally separate issues. And when we get dinged, we most likely have done something, if not if we haven't done something wrong, we've done something that's run close enough up to the line that we need to get that figured out for the betterment of everybody, right? And we need to quit just pointing fingers and blaming. It's ridiculous, John.
Well, I didn't report it when my video got age restricted. I told you,
Mhm.
but I didn't complain to anyone.
Right.
So you can't say I
Right.
did. And
No,
that,
and I appreciate that. I
yeah,
appreciate that. I wish more people would. I wish more people would reach out to me. But again, I can't tell you, and I'm not going to name drop and harp and demonize on anybody.
mhm.
But there's been some bigger channels out there that, again, I've reached out to them, tried to help, and it's channels that you guys out there listening, girls out there listening, whatever, know and love, and they told me screw off.
But
They didn't have any intentions of working with YouTube, blah 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 blah. So, they're the ones not coming to the table. They're the ones not trying. And we're not talking about protecting our rights here. We're talking about having a voice on a platform, right? I'm not working with YouTube to compromise gun legislation that's going to take crap away. I'm working with YouTube to try to show them the errors of their ways and free up the platform for everybody. There's a difference and there's a distinction. But oftentimes when people talk about the First Amendment, they talk about the Second Amendment, they talk whatever it might be, they conflate a platform with the government. And it's like you can't do that. It's two totally separate separate things there. I had another point. Man, it was locked and loaded and it was ready to go too.
well, how
On
about if
that.
you save that for the next time?
Maybe, because I know we're way over probably at this point.
Yeah, we're way over, and I have a conference call I gotta get on to because I rescheduled it from
Oh wow.
4:30 to like
Well, I
5:30.
appreciate it.
So I
And I
gotta get
appreciate everybody that joined out there for the
yeah,
live too. I know
yeah,
DJ had a lot of good questions.
people
But yeah,
joined.
I can rant and rave and harp on YouTube and creator stuff.
The
I love doing it because people out there, the rank and file people that are viewers, and especially those that are looking to and advocate. We talked about this earlier with all the new channels and things, right? Advocate for people turning on the microphones and the cameras all the time, right? And if we're going to do that, then we need to lay the foundation so they know what to expect on this platform from the start. And these goofball, out of touch big channels that don't know what the heck they're talking about, right? That's not the reality of the situation. Just remember that if you're looking to turn a camera on, turn a microphone on, get involved on the platform, I highly encourage you to do so, and learn the platform as well as the craft of putting out content and stuff like that. So thanks, John, for having me on.
I think
Appreciate
a
it.
lot of people just try to go live and they don't have a show. The, you know, they turn on the camera and talk, which is fine. It's just not what I do. But thank you so much for coming on. Everyone can check me out at crumpy.com where you can find links to my Patreon and all my articles. I have a new article up on Amalana about the whole FOAC situation. We never got into that, but that's an interesting situation there. Maybe next time, whatever. Clover, thank you for coming on. YouTube, thank you for scheduling this podcast.
Yeah, right.
And it was a lot of fun. I love having you on, man. This is episode 180 of the Fireside Chats podcast. Clovertac, take us out with the final words, whatever you want to do. Plug anything.
Final words.
plug
Hey,
anything.
man, Clovertac.com. You can find me there. I mean, maybe you're not really a YouTube person. Maybe you prefer another platform. And I'm on a bunch of videos on weird stuff like Rumble and Brighteon and Odyssey and whatever. They get uploaded there too. So wherever you are at, follow, engage, be a part of the conversation. I'm a real person like everybody else. And yeah, that's all I got to say.